Hope you are doing well. In this video, I will explain about what is the meaning of exception handling, explain about exception hierarchy, explain about checked exceptions, explain about unchecked exceptions. Can we maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks are present? So let's get started. It is not a stretch video. It is continuation video of exception handling playlist. This this playlist link I will provide in description of this video. So what is the meaning of exception handling? First question. What is the meaning of exception and link? Exception and link. So these are the interview questions, very important. Must prepare before going to interview. So black color. See here. What is the meaning of exception and link? Exception and link. Exception and link does not mean preparing an exception. Preparing an exception. We have to define alternative way to continue rest of the program normally. This way of defining alternative is nothing but exception handling. Is nothing but exception handling. See what is meaning of exception handling? Exception handling does not mean repairing exception. We have to define alternative way to continue rest of the program normally. This way of defining alternative is nothing but exception handling. So black color. Second question. Here, explain about exception hierarchy. Explain about exception hierarchy. Explain about exception hierarchy. So answer is object. Object is a superclass of all classes. See, I will draw a diagram. So here, object is a superclass of all classes. Object is derived throwable. Throwable. So superclass of exception handling is a throwable. Superclass of all classes is a object. Throwable is divided into two subtypes. Throwable is divided into two subtypes. Exception, error. Here, explain about exception hierarchy. This is the exception hierarchy. Object, it is derived to throwable. Next here, throwable derived to exception and error. So error. See, it is a diagram of exception hierarchy. Control C. Paste here. Control V. Explain about exception hierarchy. So object is a root class of all classes. Next, throwable is derived from the object. Throwable is a root class of all exceptions. Throwable is derived into exception and error. So let's open the throwable. Let's open the object class. Do one thing. Let's open the throwable class. So throwable Java. Here after opening Control T. Remember Control T. This is the hierarchy. Here object throwable, right? Object throwable. Object is a superclass of all classes. After the throwable is there. Inside throwable. So we have said like subclasses. Because here inside throwable, error is a one subclass, exception is a one subclass, error is a subclass. Remember? So here explain about exception hierarchy. So object is a root class, throwable is a in object, throwable is derived, throwable is a root class of exception hierarchy. Throwable have two implementation classes are there, exception and error. Remember. Next question. Explain about checked exceptions. Explain about checked. Explain about checked exceptions. Answer is here. Explain about checked exceptions. Right. Go to diagram. See here. Under the exception, classes are called checked exceptions. So I am creating diagram. Under exception are called checked exceptions. See here. Suppose see here. IO exception. IO exception. Under IO exception, file not found exception. File not found exception. So it is called a checked exception. Under exception are called checked exceptions. See here. Checked exceptions. Under exception are called checked exceptions. So minimize to 14. Under exception are called checked exceptions. Let's say under exception, IO exception and file not found exception, there are not. So IDE control T, nothing but it will open hierarchy, type hierarchy, right? So the exception is there, right? Open, go to IO. See here, file not found exception there, right? So it is under the exception. Under the exception, file not found exception is there. Remember? Yeah, right. So under exception are called checked exceptions. Example, IO exception. In IO exceptions, one scenario is file not found exception. So we successfully understand. Explain about checked exceptions. Checked exceptions are under exception classes are called checked exceptions. So copy this one. Copy this one. Under exception, subclasses are called checked exceptions. These are called checked exceptions. So next question. Explain about unchecked exceptions. So explain about unchecked exceptions. Explain about unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. Here go to diagram. So throw here error and subclasses are unchecked exceptions. Errors and its subclasses. Errors and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. Errors and this is the error, right? Error and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. Remember this point. And here exception is under exception. Runtime exception is here. Runtime exception. Runtime exception. See under exception, runtime exception is there. Under exception, runtime exception is there. See here, runtime exception and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. Runtime exception and its subclasses are called runtime exception and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. are called unchecked exceptions are called unchecked exceptions. See, what is the question? Explain about unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. See, and error and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions, and runtime and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. Runtime class and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. So take this snapshot. So I am taking all, Control C, Control V. So next question. Can we maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks present? See here in this example. Suppose exception is a root class. Arithmetic exception is a child class. Runtime exception is a child class, right? So then parent is last, childs are first, right? So it is question we need to maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks are there. So in this scenario, no error. Then I will copy this one, Control X, and I will paste here. Let's see what will happen. See, we are getting the error. Then here, can we maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks are present? So fifth question, can we maintain order or not? Fifth question, can we maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks present? Then answer is, see, when we are using first childs and after that parent, no error. We need to follow catch blocks order from child to parent, like child to parent, nothing but I'm control child. Here, post child catch block, after that child catch block, parent catch block. So we need to follow catch blocks order from child to parent, else we will get compile time error. We need to follow catch blocks order from child to parent, else we will get compile time error. Remember this point. Here, one more. Suppose this is the one statement, right? So if this is the one statement and this is the one statement, assume we are expecting one exception raised in this line. So then only place this line in try and catch block. So we can place only risky code. We can place only risky code inside try block. Length of the try block should be as less as possible. Length of the try block should be as less as possible. So here I am assuming this line will be raise exception. So I am added this line only. So let's recall once. What is meaning of exception handling? Exception handling does not mean repairing an exception. We have to define alternative way to continue rest of the program normally. This way of defining alternative is nothing but exception handling. Explain about exception hierarchy. A root class of R classes is a object. From object, throwable is derived. In exception handling, root class is a throwable. It has multiple implementations, but we are considering two implementations like exception and error. So exception and its subclasses are called checked exceptions. Example, IO exception, file not found exception, etc. Explain about unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are comes under error and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions and runtime exceptions. Runtime exceptions and its subclasses are called unchecked exceptions. Example here, null pointer exception. Next question, can we maintain order or not if multiple catch blocks present? We need to follow catch blocks order from child to parent, else we will get compile time error. Thank you for watching. For more videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel.